Okay, so we're back now. I've rendered this one. It took about 20 minutes on my machine, so it's not too bad at all. It is a little bit noisy, obviously, but at least we can kind of get a good feel for what our animation is now. Now, I forgot to disable the background alpha replace, so we've got no background, but I will fix that in a second. And while this is pretty good, there's still a few things I think I want to change about this still. I feel like a lot of the animation, certainly around here, with these sort of unfolding bushy ones, all seems to end, or at least it seems to feel like it ends at about the same time. So I'd like to maybe add a bit more randomization to that. I think these yellow ones that were like the sort of clamshell ones, I've rotated everything on this by 360 degrees randomly, but I think these ones I might just reduce the randomness of that rotation so they're most sort of facing towards us, because they're sort of like semicircular discs. I think it'd be nice just to have less of a random rotation to those. I'm going to try that one out, and I think that's it. Let's try and set this up and we'll do another test render and just see how that one looks. Let's come to our scene. Let's come to our RS dome light. And in order to have a proper alpha, or at least to not have the alpha replace, let's enable our environment alpha channel replace. We'll turn that on, and we're going to set our alpha to be 1, so it's solid. Let's next set up our clamshell kind of plants here. If we go back to our copy to points, just going to set our viewport display. Let's go to 250 million. Should be able to see this a little bit more. If we zoom in here, we can see these are our ones here. So we're currently rotating these through 360 degrees randomly. They're kind of overlapping a little bit. If we come back up to the top here, we had our rotate orient that we did at the start. And this is what's causing everything to be rotated randomly. So we're just essentially multiplying our angle by a random point number. And this is giving us our random rotation. So what I think I might do is actually use our variant to split this off by groups, and then we're going to rotate everything else by 360, but maybe I'll take our little element here and I'll rotate it by a smaller number. So let's just take our rotate, and in fact let's bring everything down a little bit to make a bit of space just below where we had our attribute from pieces, because that's where we're creating our variant attribute. So if we bring this below, we now have access to that variant. And for this one, let's just put at variant equals, just going to check which one this was. So I think plant D, in fact it was. Let's have a look. So yeah, plant D, it's variant 3. So if we say, I'm just going to click on our copy to points again. I know this isn't the actual geometry we're rendering, but at least it shows us the general layout of what we've got here. So let's go to our rotate orient now, and let's say if variant equals 3, it's just going to rotate these ones here. So in fact, let's just leave this as maybe about 50 degrees, I think. You can see in there now we've got a little bit of rotation, but it's mostly sort of staying to the same direction. Trying to see between all the bushes there. Let's copy this again, bring this below, and let's just say if variant does not equal, so it's exclamation mark equal, so basically it's going to be everything except for the variant that's 3. We'll make that 360. So you can see now these are all rotating, but our variant 3 is not. Okay, let's go back to our render cam. Let's go back down to our frame attribute we set here, and let's have a look at this next. In fact, let's look at our visualizer we created. So I think what I want to do is maybe adjust our randomization of our dist attribute a little bit more. In fact, I forgot to do something before. So we remapped our dist here to be from 0 to 1. But then we're actually adding a random noise to this between 0 and 0.2. So at this point, we're actually now going potentially into negative numbers. Let me just see if I can sort this correctly. Oh, we're certainly going over anyway. We might be going into negative in some areas, but we're definitely going over. So let's also just clamp this so we can enable post-process, and we're going to just set our minimum and maximum to be 0 and 1. So this is nicely clamped again now. And let's just adjust these values a bit more. Actually, if I come and control middle click on this and come to our dist attribute here, you can see what our current setup is. Let's see what it looks like if I just increase our amount a bit more. And I think the kind of patchiness and the size of our noise here, you can see is quite big patches. I might bring down our element size a little bit more. It's going to middle mouse drag on our ladder, go to quite fine increments, just make this really sort of high frequency noise. Let's bring this down a bit further still, maybe about 0.012, so it's really quite grainy. And then I think if we to just bring this up a little bit, maybe just a small amount like 0.4, that's kind of going to give us a little bit of randomization in there. Let's come back to our copy to points. Let's have a look here. I think that will do it. Okay, so I'm going to set off another render of this, and then we'll have a look at this in a minute and see how that compares.